National Integration Council. But that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, that's one bureaucratic organization where you accommodate every possible politician who has lost this election. So, if you want really to build the nation and at the same time you want to contribute to building a society, to building a global society which is based on the principles of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, which are the Indian values given by our sages, I think the first priority is to see how we can bring about creative and constructive cooperation. And I think creative and constructive cooperation, that is very important. It is not just coexistence. And of course, you can only have creative and constructive cooperation if you follow Swami Vivekananda's message of universal acceptance and tolerance. So I would have expected that in the 150th year of Swami Vivekananda's birth anniversary, that those who are following his message will come out with some concepts as to how do you take this message of universal acceptance and tolerance to the next level. And the next level is the creative and constructive cooperation between different communities and different religions of India. And none of them has been able to present to me that they have even thought about this. All they say that we go to a village and we do some social work there, and we go to some slum area and we do some social work there. And nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a good idea to do some social work and to look after the underprivileged people of the society. But if you are saying that you are celebrating the 150th anniversary of Swami Vivekananda, and if you assume that, if you assume for a moment that the genetics had developed at that time as it is likely to develop in the next 50 years, then Swami Vivekananda would be probably alive today. In which case, if in 1893 he gave a message of universal tolerance and acceptance, what is the message that he would give today? How would his thoughts advance? That is what he should have thought. And nobody has come out with this. But leave aside what has been lost, I think this is what we need to work towards in future. And I hope that since Vishwa Adhyayan Kendra has Adhyayan in its middle name, I hope you will give some thoughts to see how you can take this message ahead of how to build a society which is based on constructive and creative cooperation between different constituencies, between different constituents of the Indian society. The second lesson that we can draw from the experience and the teachings of various people is that you have to have science and philosophy going together as the two main wheels of your society. Here in Mumbai, they think share market and real estate market are the wheels of the society. They are okay, they are important, they are required, they are your day-to-day realities. But they are not the wheels of the society. If you want the Indian society to move ahead, if you want to build a nation, if you want to do a Punarnirman, if you want to create a new India, then we have to seek how science and philosophy both can play a central role in taking the nation ahead. And then once we decide as a society that these are the two elements which are most required, then there can be a lot of debate as to how to go about it. Not that there has to be a full agreement across the country. But science and technology, they have to go ahead. Now, with regards to science and technology, let us see where we are and where we can go. Let me ask, somebody wants to be a volunteer, I want to ask a question. Anybody? Okay. What's your name, sir? Okay. What is the most significant development taking place on the border of Tamil Nadu and Kerala?
Basically, these two South Indian countries, states, they are trying to overcome all their poverties, and they are working very hard towards improving their cultural this thing. Although they have big fight between themselves, but individually they are trying to progress faster.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Professor Page, you want to try?
Yeah, the famous dam issue between
The Idukki Dam. Huh?
Yeah, it is a water problem
Sorry?
that they are
No,
going
one at
to
a time,
solve.
one at a time, yeah. Okay. Okay, you?
The same thing I want to tell.
Okay. So, the water dispute, the, how will you summarize what he said?
yeah, the water dispute in two states regarding the sharing of the water, A, and B, the dam which is likely to collapse according to the Tamil Nadu government.
Okay. Now, of course, there is no correct answer to any question like that because this is a very subjective question and there are various answers. But I will tell you what I think is the most significant development taking place in the border areas of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. Okay. Before that, let me just step out of India for a minute and let me look at what is the most significant development taking place in the whole world. And then I will come to Tamil Nadu and Kerala in a minute. The most significant development taking place in the whole world is an effort being made to challenge the laws of physics, and especially the laws as laid down by Einstein. Now, if you change the laws of physics, or if you find that the laws of physics are wrong, even if by a small percentage, and if you find that some of the laws of physics need to be revised or relooked at, the whole world will change. Everything will change. Right from your space missions to your microelectronics to everything, absolutely everything will change. If you find that there was some problem in the laws of physics as explained by Einstein, everything will change. So the most significant development, that's one of the two most significant developments taking place, that's anywhere around the world, is the whole questioning of the basic laws of physics, and particularly the law which says that the light, that the speed of light is the fastest traveling phenomena, and there is nothing that can break the speed of light. Now there is only one thing that has come close to breaking the speed of light. And for a moment, the scientists thought it had actually broken the speed of light. Then they realized that there was some technical flaw in the experiment and they withdrew. And that was last year when they found that neutrinos, which is a small particle, had broken the speed of light. But then they realized there was a mistake in this scientific experiment, and neutrino has not actually broken the speed of light, and so the Einstein's theory remains valid. But still neutrinos are important because they are the ones which come very, very close to the speed of light. Just very, 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 very close. I mean, there's the speed of neutrino is maybe 99.999999% of the speed of light. So the work on neutrinos is going to be the second most important work that's going to happen in the world, and that is what is going to decide how the world will be shaped over the next 500 or 1,000 years. What comes out of the experiments on experimental work on neutrino will decide, will be one of the 2-3 things that will decide. There is also corresponding work taking place on molecular biology that will also play a role in how the world will be shaped over the next 500 to 1,000 years. So neutrinos, I would say not number one, but definitely one of the 2-3 programs which will decide not just 400 years, 500. This is a lot more important than your value of rupee or whatever. Mr. Kelapuri said that what you are going to say today is less important than the value of rupee. But I can tell you, Mr. Kelapuri, the value of rupee is an issue which is relevant for next 10, 15 days. The laws of physics are going to be important for next 1,000 years. Or maybe next 10,000 years. So, now this, so therefore, along with what's happening in molecular biology, along with what's happening in the creation of life in laboratories, and along with what's happening at the Large Hadron Collider where they are working on the Higgs boson, the work on neutrinos is the most significant, one of the 5 most significant developments taking place in the world, not only taking place in the world today, but in the world over the last 100 years, which will have an impact over next 1,000, next 2,000, next 5,000 years. And the world's largest neutrino observatory or laboratory is being built on the border of Tamil Nadu and Kerala. So what happens on the border of Tamil Nadu and Kerala is going to determine, or going to, I would not say determine is too strong, but is going to influence how the entire universe works over the next 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 years. And you think that a damn issue is more important than this? And that's not your fault. It's frankly the fault of the Indian media. Because you are not aware. I'm sure if you had known that there is a largest neutrino observatory being built on the border of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, of course you would have recognized that this is the most significant development taking place there. But the Indian media has very different kind of priorities. I'm in fact surprised that they are talking about the dam dispute on the border of Tamil Nadu and Kerala, because I thought their priorities were a lot more significant, like the color of dress that Priyanka Chopra or whatever her name is wears at the evening parties, and for how much money the cricketers are auctioned. So cricketers being auctioned is your front page news. Amitabh Bachchan tweeting about some issue here or there is your front page news. And the Indian scientists have built the world's largest, are building the world's largest neutrino laboratory is something that Indian media doesn't think is important enough to communicate to the Indian public. But because the media is shallow and because the media is, has got its priorities wrong, doesn't mean that everybody in India has got their priorities wrong. Fortunately, the scientists and even the bureaucrats whom we all blame are, have the right sense, and they are putting in resources and they are putting in effort to build this. And this is not an exceptional experiment. Not too far from here, in Pune, last year, something came up in Pune, and that's in the field of biology. Asia's first biosafety level 4 laboratory is in Pune. It was set up last year. Now, this is the only laboratory in Asia, perhaps with the exception of China, because in China what happens you don't come to know. So, at least in terms of what is the public knowledge, this is the only laboratory. And by Asia, I don't mean mostly East and Southeast Asia. I'm not talking about the West Asia, where Israelis would have it anyway, underground or overground. The first, and the Israelis, I must say, I admire them in some ways, that they will do all this, even dare to do it in Haifa, not too far from the border of Lebanon. Despite all the worry of missiles coming from Hezbollah or whatever. So, so Asia's top first biosafety level 4 laboratory is in Pune. And this is a small news on page number 9 of the Times of India. But even though the media thinks it's not important, the government of India provided 75 crore rupees to set this up last year. So all these politicians and all these bureaucrats whom you blame are actually a lot more sensible than we give them credit for. Despite all their weaknesses and all their corrupt practices and all their problems, which we all recognize and which we must fight against. We should not accept corruption. We should not accept criminality. But we must understand that they are doing something constructive out there. So when we look at creating a base of science and technology, you have some very good experiments taking place in India, right from theoretical physics to molecular biology. Now this laboratory in Pune would be able to detect and work on any case of bioterrorism in the world. So if you have a problem with bioterrorism, you can come to Pune and you can consult this laboratory, you can try to solve the problem. And bioterrorism is going to be a significant problem, and you have a solution right here in Pune, or at least an effort to find a solution right here in Pune. But while the government is doing this, and while there are also many experiments taking place at the grassroots level, for instance, in Pune itself, there is a small company which has created a tool whereby a mobile phone can dial a electric pump half an hour away and see whether there is electricity or not, and help the farmers to save his trip. And there are many such small experiments taking place. The organized Indian private sector is missing from this effort, and it's a shame. You had Institute of Science in Bangalore, which was established in 1919. You had Indian Institute of Technology. The whole plan of that was finalized in 1940s, just before 1947, though the first Institute of Technology was actually inaugurated by Pandit Nehru after he became the Prime Minister, but the entire planning and everything was done before 47. CSIR, the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, was set up in 1943. TIFR was set up in 1946. And TIFR and Institute of Science both came into existence because of Institute of Science because of Jamshedji Tata, and TIFR because of J.R.D. Tata. So the Indian private sector played a tremendous role prior to the independence in creating foundation for advanced science and technology in India. What have they done since 1947? Give me one example in the private sector. There's a lot that's been done by the government. There is the Chandrayaan, which was created by ISRO, which is in the government sector. There is this Biosafety Level 4 lab, which is the latest, which I mentioned. This is done in the government sector. There are so many things which are done in the government sector. What is being done by the organized private sector? Mobile phones, internet. Since have they invented it? All imported. All they have done is just the CKD, just the assembly. And what is the result of that? The result is that in some critical areas, because you can't really go ahead only with the effort of the government and the small-time experiments which are taking place at the grassroots level, India is falling way behind. For instance, one of the most critical tools today in any field, whether it is biology or whether it is chemistry, is the computers. Without the computers, you can't do chemistry. Without the computers, you can't do biology, you can't do anything. The fastest supercomputer that we have, that is in China. And the Chinese computer has a speed of 54 petaflops. Now, 1 petaflop is 1,000 trillion calculations per second. So 54 petaflops means China has a computer which is the only computer in the world which is, there is no such computer in the US, no such computer in UK, Japan, not even in Israel, not in Japan, not anywhere else, which is capable of thinking at a much faster rate than the human mind. Because human mind thinking goes to about 20 to 30 petaflops. The second fastest computer in the world, so the first is 54 petaflops China. The second fastest computer in the world is owned by the US military, and that is 18 petaflop, which is 1/3 of the Chinese speed. So this is where China is 54 petaflop, this is where US is 18 petaflop. And the fastest computer in India is 0.18 petaflop, which is 1/100th of the fastest US computer and 1/300 of the fastest Chinese computer. And why these things is happening? Because Dr. Karmarkar, who developed this super fast computer of 0.18 petaflop, was rewarded in the very next month by termination of his job. So this is how our private sector behaves. You develop a supercomputer, you are thrown out of a job. So we don't want to produce anything, we don't want to invest anything. Recently, there is a whole crop has come of private sector people being involved in setting up of the educational institutions, both private sector, both private sector and the political private sector. And sometimes I'm invited by these institutions to meet with the directors. And I tell them, I said, look, you people are stupid. You have very small ambition. So they say, how? I said, yeah, we have to make money. I said, no, you have to make money, but just in terms of making money, your ambition is extremely small. Because what is your model? You want to take a capitation fee of 20 lakh rupees from a student, and then you will have 100 students or 200 students, whatever, and altogether your business will be some 50 crore rupees a year. Mr. Pankaj Bhujbal is not here. I don't ask him. I would have asked him what is the turnover of MET. I won't ask Mr. Page and put him in a trouble. Only 5 crores. So you have at the most